All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. It is the day after the Olympia, and in this video, I want to take a look at the scorecards for both men's open bodybuilding and classic physique, because these are the placings in the results that you didn't get to see at the finals last night. The rest of the top 10, the guys that were outside of the top 10, and then also how close some of these placings were when you actually look at and break down some of the points. So let's look at the men's open bodybuilding scorecard first. So what we got to see last night was Big Ramy won the show. He was in first. Brandon Curry took second. In third place, you had Hadi Chupin, the Persian Wolf. And then in fourth place, Hunter Labrada, very impressive. Nick Walker in fifth place. A lot of people talking about this decision. Sixth place, William Bonac. So that was a big one that I wanted to talk about there, was 5 and 6, because that was kind of a big question that a lot of people had going into the Arnold. When Bonac pulled out and Nick Walker won, was would Nick have won if Bonac was there? And it looks like we got the answer to that question at the Olympia this year, because Nick beat Bonac. His final score was 49. Bonac's final score was 60. So there was an 11-point difference between the two. So it was substantial. Now, I've seen a lot of people saying they think that Nick got robbed. Now, to be honest, I think Nick getting fifth was about right where he should be. I mean, this is his first Olympia ever, and he's in the top 5. That's not a bad thing. That's not a robbery. That is a tremendous accomplishment. Ronnie Coleman was like dead last at his first Olympia. Jay Cutler was like in the last call-out at his first Olympia. It's not typical that the first time you go to the Olympia, you're immediately in the top 5. So just because Nick wasn't top 3 or didn't win the show doesn't mean he got robbed. But I will grant you that it was a little bit closer between Hunter, who took 4th, and Nick, who took 5th. There was only a 9-point separation between the two, with Hunter receiving 40 points and Nick receiving 49. And again, if you're not familiar with how these points work, it's just like golf. The lowest score is the better score, because essentially your score is what placing the judges are voting you to be in. So if they're voting for you to be in first place and you get unanimous first place votes, each judge is giving you 1 point for first place. So you would have the lowest score and you would win. Which is why if you look at Big Ramy's column, this is kind of what we're talking about with Ramy. Ramy's at the bottom there. How he tightened up for the night show. His score was lower at finals than it was at prejudging. So like we said, Ramy was a little bit off at prejudging. It was noticeable, but he improved tremendously for the night show and earned himself an even lower score at finals, getting him a total of 12 points for the win. But if you look at the prejudging, between Brandon and Ramy, people that were saying that it wasn't close, there was only 1 point separating Brandon and Ramy at prejudging. It was 8-7 at prejudging. So it was a lot closer than I think a lot of people realized. But Ramy did really close that gap at the night show, where I think he looked a lot tighter and a lot better. Now, some of the other big names that I wanted to talk about here, Patrick Moore wound up taking 14th place here, and I think this was a similar thing to what we've seen from Patrick in the past. I think the issue was he was too small here. Too small, and because he wasn't as sharp as he was in 2019, it doesn't translate as well on stage. He was 10th place in 2019. But unless you're absolutely shredded to the bone with that smaller physique, it's just not going to come across as well in a lineup with guys this big. So it's kind of a difficult situation with Patrick, because the question really is, does he need to come in a lot bigger, or does he need to come in just a lot more shredded, and will one of those two things work? But what I think he's trying to do right now is play a balancing act and try to do a little bit of both, but I think they're canceling each other out. He's trying to come in a little bit bigger and fuller, but I think that is kind of canceling out the conditioning. So I think he's kind of in a tough spot right now, because he is a more aesthetic guy in men's open. But he was basically 14th place was second to last, because I believe there were 16 guys in this lineup. So that was one thing. Not a good placing for Patrick. Regan Grimes was another one. He was also 15th here. Regan was 15th last year, even though I honestly think that Regan looked better this year. He got the same placing that he got last year. The last place guy was Andre Presti, who I believe qualified on points. Another interesting thing to point out here is Rolly Winkler did not make the top 10. So I guess a question here is Rolly done? Rolly Winkler was 11th place, so we didn't get to see that result at the finals either. And by the way, I'm just going to talk over the scorecards here because of everything that happened yesterday. All my Olympia coverage getting striked down. I know one thing they can't have a problem with is me just talking over a picture of a piece of paper. So We're just going to do that for this video. Because to be honest, I'm really pretty annoyed about the whole thing. I don't know. It was either one of two things. My channel was specifically targeted and those videos were taken down, because I'm looking around YouTube right now, or before I made this video, there's a ton of channels that used clips and also posted entire posing routines. They posted like 10-minute videos of the stream. They're all still up. Some channels bigger than mine. I looked around on Instagram. There's clips from the show all over Instagram. You can basically watch the full show on Instagram. There's people that streamed the entire show on their channel, something I have never done and would never do. Some of those stream replays still up on YouTube right now, but my videos yesterday, where some of them were just using like less than a minute of footage from the live stream. Some of them, most of the video was pictures. Some of them, most of the video was clips from people on Instagram. All those videos taken down immediately yesterday, when I was just doing exactly what everybody else, every other bodybuilding channel does this. When the stream is over, you use some clips here and there from the live stream. We're not hijacking the stream. We're not bootlegging the stream. We're using it with fair use for commentary and criticism of the show. And again, the guys at the Olympia, they've got my number. If they had a problem with me doing that, they could have texted me. Everyone else is doing it. I never assumed there was a problem. But I guess I'll go ahead and be the whipping boy for this one and serve as the example for everybody, because that's kind of what it seems like they're using me for. And I'll just talk over a picture of a piece of paper and kind of prove the point. People will still watch the video. I don't need the clips. Most people are coming here just to hear my opinion or my wrap up, so whatever. Now I'm getting annoyed. So let's go on to some other placings here. So Rolly Winkler was 11th, and that was a big deal. I was impressed with Justin Rodriguez, who took 8th. Ian Valier matched his placing last year. He got 7th last year. He was 7th this year. Akeem Williams rounding out the top 10 with 9th place. And Mohammed Shaban, who actually qualified on points, was pretty impressive here, not only beating Rolly Winkler, but cracking the top 10, and he didn't win a show to get here. So that was pretty impressive, I think, as well. Another guy that I think people were disappointed to see was James Hollingshead taking 12th. A lot of people were wondering what went wrong there, because James looked so good going into the show. When I was watching him pose, I think the midsection looked a little bit weird. I don't know if it just looked washed out. There wasn't a whole lot of, it looked like there was just like a film over his midsection. And I just think that's really what hurt him. And he looked a little bit small, honestly, surprisingly. He looked a little bit small, and I think that hurt him as well. But 12th place for James Hollingshead, still not really that bad of a placing for your first Olympia. It's his first time there. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Are there any of these placings that you guys disagree with the most? I know I'm seeing a lot of talk about the Nick Walker placing. A lot of people felt that Nick Walker should have been higher. And like I said, I could see an argument, maybe between Nick and Hunter, that Nick could have slid into 4th place. But I wouldn't have had Nick in the top 3, to be honest. I think that Hadi, Brandon, and Ramy were a pretty solid top 3. So saying that Nick was robbed, I would say the highest that I would have had him was maybe 4th if he placed ahead of Hunter. But that's really it. So I don't know if robbery is the right word. I think Nick did a tremendous job here. I think he came in looking fantastic. He got a really good placing for his first Olympia, and I think that's basically that. Now, next up in the news, I also want to take a look at the Classic Physique Olympia scorecards. Now, this one, this is a bit more complex. There's a lot more guys in this lineup than there were in men's open bodybuilding. So we're going to go over this one a little bit quicker, because there's a lot more stuff here. There's a lot more numbers. I know it looks a lot more confusing. So let's look at this. So that first name there, I believe the DNF means did not finish. So I know that's a little bit confusing as well. But Chris Bumstead took 1st place, 2nd place, Terrence Ruffin. Now, it was 5-10, so if there were 5 judges, 5 scores voted Chris in 1st and unanimously voted Terrence in 2nd, is what that means. So that was a unanimous decision. Now, Breon in 3rd place received 18 points, which means even more. So some of the judges probably had Breon in 4th, is what that means, because if all the judges had him in 3rd, 5 times 3 would be 15. So it looks like Breon might have almost taken 4th place there, which was taken by Urs Kalsinski, who had 22 points, receiving 4th place. So only 4 points separating Urs and Breon. In 5th place, you had Ramon Roca Cures. This guy looked fantastic. I was really, really impressed with him. In 6th place, you had Alex Cambronero. This guy was your Arnold Classic champion 2020. He was runner-up at the Arnold Classic this year to rough diesel Terrence Ruffin. I think he looked a little bit sharper at the Arnold than he looked here, and that was probably the reason for him taking 6th. I believe last year's Olympia, Alex took 4th, so he dropped 2 placings this year. But essentially, the takeaway from Classic Physique was this was almost an identical result to last year. As far as the top 3 was concerned, it was identical. 1, 2, and 3, Chris, Terrence, Breon, exact same story played out this year. Let's see, some other placings people were surprised about was Peter Molnar in 14th. That was a surprising one. You know, Peter has a lot of fans, but he's an older guy. He's in his 40s. He's been competing in other organizations for a very long time. He's just getting into the IFBB now, later on in his career. And I think, unfortunately, because of that, we're not getting to see the best version of Peter Molnar on the Olympia stage, on the IFBB stage. We're seeing a later on in his career version of Peter. And granted, in his prime, he had a tremendous physique, but right now, it's not prime time Peter Molnar. Now, Brian Jones was another one. It dropped all the way from 5th place last year to 9th place this year. He was just 5th at the Arnold Classic, where I think he was pretty off there. Personally, I think he was off here as well. But someone did send me these side-by-side comparison photos of this year versus last year, how Brian looked. And he looked comparable, but I do think he looked a little bit tighter. Robert Timms, who won the Texas Pro Show, he wound up in 10th place here. I know a lot of people were excited to see him on the Olympia stage. A lot of people were wondering why he wasn't top 6. A lot of people had him in their top 6 predictions. And honestly, I think the reason for his placing in 10th was the lower body. I've said this before. I really think his upper body's fantastic, very complete. His conditioning's very good, but the lower body just does not match. I was also a bit surprised by Courage Opara. If you guys see, he actually took 15th place at the Olympia. Courage was just top 3 2 weeks ago at the Arnold Classic, so that was a pretty surprising placing for me as well. And another one that a lot of people were wondering about was Wesley Vissers. He wound up taking 11th here, which is exactly where he placed last year. So really, no improvement and no getting worse, I guess. So it was kind of a draw for Wesley. He didn't really, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what Wesley's going to have to do to place better in these lineups, but 11th place for Wesley, just right around where he's kind of always been in these bigger lineups. To me, I actually thought he looked a little bit better than last year, but I don't know. I think, you know, maybe the judges just don't like his physique at this point. I really don't know what to say or what Wesley needs to do to get better. You know, at this point, I really don't know what they think about Wesley. Then Danny Unin wound up taking 13th place here. If I'm not mistaken, he was 6th at the Olympia last year. Wound up all the way in 13th place. I really don't know why. I think he actually looked pretty good here, and he didn't know why either. And this actually led to him announcing on Instagram his retirement from Classic Physique and that he's switching over to 212 bodybuilding or men's open bodybuilding. But he's taken a year off after this because he was so confused by the decision and why he was dropped from 6th to 13th. So that's going to wrap it up for the video today, guys. But before we end it, I just wanted to say thank you guys for all of your support. I'm glad all you guys enjoyed any coverage that you did get to see on my channel about the Olympia. I appreciate you guys bearing with me on this one because I know it was just pictures of a piece of paper of the scorecards, but wouldn't want to get copyright striked again. It's just, you know, it's just really frustrating that, you know, whether you like me or don't like me, I don't think anybody can deny that my channel brings new fans to bodybuilding. It gets more people interested in the IFBB, new fans to the Olympia. Whether you agree or disagree with some of my opinions about things, this channel essentially acts as a promotional machine for bodybuilding. I mean, 1 million people, bodybuilding is a really relatively small niche sport. 1 million people getting this sport promoted to, and then new people beyond that is a lot. So I appreciate you guys that have been supporting me and rocking with me, enjoying the coverage. Even those of you that disagree and still watch the videos, I appreciate you guys too. So like this video, share this video. Let's try to get it some views because look, half of what I did for the Olympia was taken down. And I stayed up till like 5 a.m. one of the nights. So one of the videos taken down, kind of funny enough, one of the nights I stayed up till 5 a.m., I was trying to put together a video with no clips from the live stream to show a different angle of the first call out. I was trying to show only clips from Instagram to try to give you guys a better idea of how these guys look, not just going off the live stream, because I don't think the live stream was that great. I think a lot of you guys would agree with that. That video got taken down too because it was footage from the event, but it was from Instagram, from people in the crowd that were shooting footage of the show. And some of them just sent it to me, and that's what I posted. And they took that down too. And I thought that was kind of funny because the whole purpose of me making that video was to put together clips that weren't from the live stream. But I don't know. I'll stop ranting. I just feel like this was a giant slap in the face to me. But I appreciate you guys, all you guys that are bodybuilding fans. I appreciate it. I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out.